Hey folks, a number of people have asked me about the camera equipment I'm using. So for most of my travel videos and wildlife videos, I'm using a new camcorder that I bought last fall. It's a Canon camcorder. So I've used it probably about 10 months now. You've seen a lot of it in my videos. So I thought I'd put together kind of a review of it with kind of my likes and dislikes. So let's get into it. So when I started my RVing and now RV and boating YouTube channel back in late 2012, back then I used a Sony NEX3 for stills and some video, but my primary video camera was a little Sony HDR CX405 camcorder. I loved using the camcorder as it was an all-in-one tool. Camcorders have a tremendous zoom capability, work well in low light, and offer decent automatic exposure and focus. Basically, I can pop it out and use it without much fuss. Around 2018, I upgraded my Sony to a larger, more feature-rich FDR-AX53 model. It had fantastic image stabilization and the ability to use an external microphone for improved sound, particularly in reducing wind noise. About a year ago, though, it failed on me. The touchscreen quit and the camera was well used, so I decided to replace it. But when I shopped around, I noticed the model wasn't readily available, maybe even discontinued. Sony hasn't updated it in many years. This led me to have a look at the Canon line of camcorders. Canon is well known for its high-quality still cameras, and it has a camcorder model called the Vixia HF G70. Released in late 2022, that appeared to fit the bill. So far, for almost a year, I'm happy with the purchase. But here are some minor dislikes, but many more likes. So let's go through my pros and cons. First on the list is this was released in October 2022. So it's one of the newer camcorders out there. Most of the camcorders are pretty mature, so they don't really upgrade them very much or come out with new models, because camcorders aren't super popular like still cameras. So this was one of the newer ones on the market, so that was a big pro for me to pick this one just because it has some of the newer technology in it. Really solid build, feels really good in my hands. It's a little larger than the one I had before, but I haven't found too much problems with it. It's not like too heavy or anything. It has a nice padded strap here that's adjustable, so my hand fits in there. It feels really secure. I'm not going to drop it, especially when I'm using it on our boat, because the boat could be rocking all over the place, so I'm not going to drop it into the ocean or anything like that. It's got a very good quality electric viewfinder right here, electronic viewfinder, which is important, especially in boating or outside when it's really sunny, because it's hard to see the screen when it gets really bright out. So if you can get into here, you can really look through that, especially for zooming in on wildlife and stuff. I find it a lot of times I use it just as another set of binoculars. Even if I'm not recording, I'll look through the viewfinder there and zoom in on things. Also has the rubber eyepiece included with the viewfinder. But it does have this flip out screen, and it articulates around like that. It actually is quite bright. Let's turn it on here for you. There we go. Yeah, so it's actually pretty bright. You can go through and do all the functions and stuff like that. I won't really go through all that. There's lots of places that have a video that goes through everything. Just kind of going through my pros and cons. Let's open here so you can see. Yeah, quite a nice bright viewfinder. Or I mean touchscreen there. Another pro for me is it has a lot of manual buttons. So right here we got menu buttons and function buttons, that sort of thing. There's a little like joystick right there. So you can do everything with manual buttons too. There's auto manual for the settings. There's your in and out zoom levels there. And then on the side there's manual buttons along here. And there's also a manual button down here. And inside here you have some manual buttons as well. So basically, the old camcorder had a Sony. Once the touchscreen died on me, it was pretty well useless. Whereas this one, if if the touchscreen dies, I'm still okay because I have a viewfinder here and a lot of manual buttons. So if you're out somewhere and you can't get it easily replaced, it still works pretty good. I really like this feature. It's a twist-on lens hood, so it opens and closes like that, or you can twist it off like that. You can also attach. There's threads in there, so you can attach different filters on it. That's a really good feature. Makes it a little longer and bigger, but it really protects and keeps your lens nice and clean. It has custom color profiles, so it's kind of in-depth, but you go into the settings there and you can go set custom profiles. I think it's up to maybe 8 or 10 of them, and you can go into very in-depth color settings and change the way the coloring is going to look, and brightness, contrast, that sort of thing. I found one guy online had published one, so he had all the specs, and I went through and copied what he had listed out, and it really improved the actual the picture quality compared to just the OEM. The OEM's pretty good, but it really helped warm it up, especially for people's faces and stuff like that. It has dual memory card slots here. Pop in and out like that. So you can have, what I do is I have one for video and one for photos. Or some people will have it constantly backing up, so it writes to both cards at the same time in case something happens to one of the cards, you still have your footage. Yeah, so like I said, there's lots of buttons. There's a bunch of custom buttons, I think 5 custom buttons that you can go in and set those buttons. There's a couple on the back here, little buttons. And there's a button down here, and there's also this little knob that rotates, and you can have it do different things. I have it set for my exposure level, but you can have a few different things that knob can be set. And also it has a ring here that you can have it set for focus or zoom. So it's kind of nice if you're trying to get something and you want to focus right on it. You can set it to manual focus and just use that to zoom in and out and set the focus. It's got a really nice 4K resolution. The previous one, the Sony, I found the 4K footage was kind of a little crunchy and kind of a little jerky sometimes, not as smooth, but I find the 4K footage on this is really nice looking and smooth. And also my video editor on my computer handles it with ease, so whatever codec they're picking or the compression, it really works easy to edit. So I've been shooting a lot more 4K video with this one, which has really helped with my video quality. It's decent optical stabilization. You put it on dynamic stabilization and it works really well. Not as well as my Sony did, but the Sony had kind of a floating lens inside. This thing doesn't have really the floating lens, but it does have a kind of a 5-axis dynamic stabilization, so it does pretty good. It has, a 20 times zoom, and then it's got a bit of a digital zoom, so you really need something that can do some decent stabilization, especially on the boat where it's rocking and rolling half the time when I'm using it, or if you're on a hike and you're walking around, a lot of motion. Excellent sound with the external mic, so you can put an external mic here. It has a place to put an external mic. I just have actually a little lavalier mic right now with a dead cat here, so it really helps with wind, really reduces the wind noise. And then on the side here, there's a place to plug in the external mic and a bunch of settings that you can set up for the mic. Different settings like low cut, filtering, and attenuation, and different things like that. So it really sets up well for the external mic there. And also it has a headphone jack right there, and that's helpful for setting your audio as well. It has preset shooting and scene modes. So say you're going to shoot a sunset, you can go in here and set it just for a sunset, so it automatically sets all the settings for a sunset or a bright day or skiing, snow, all kinds of different things like that. Night shots. There's even one that was for fireworks, and it worked pretty good. It has a built-in ND filter, neutral density filter, so that really helps when you have a lot of harsh lighting, a lot of bright contrasty things, like say you're especially and when my video I'm doing a lot with white boats contrasted onto darker blue water and green forests. I found my old camcorder had a lot of trouble dealing with that, whereas this with that built-in filter does a pretty good job actually of it. Or a bald eagle, for example, is brown and then it has a bright white head. It would just blow out the highlights, whereas this really helps with that. So I really like that feature as well. Multiple zoom options, so you can go in and set it to when you push the zoom in and out, whether it starts slow or fast, or it's a very slow steady zoom or a really fast zoom. It also has the digital zoom, so you got 20 times optical, which really gets you in far. But sometimes I have a little bit of extra. I'll set it to where it can even go further in. Although it's a digital zoom, it's shooting in 4K, so even when you digitally zoom, it's not too bad, especially if you do really want to get in tight on something that's far away. A lot of times I'll use that for animals. And good focus. There's multiple focus setting adjustments. I usually just have it on kind of a quick focus, but I find if it's out of focus, it finds focus quite quickly. So I set this mostly for automatic focus and exposure, and I'll still set it in manual mode, but it's kind of like a programmed manual where the camera does most of the work, but it allows me to do some different settings because it is in a manual mode. So yeah, overall quite happy. Lots of pros to this camera and it's worked really well. Let's give you some of the cons though. No product's ever perfect. So let's go through some of the cons. I found the battery life is quite short. To help with that, I won't use this screen too much. I'll use mostly the viewfinder here, which is kind of a nice viewfinder. It pulls out, but it also pops up, so it's pretty easy to use that way. And I'll use that mostly because it takes a lot less power to use that. It does have an auto shut off. If it's sitting more than a few minutes, it would automatically shut down, so that's not bad, but it's a pretty small battery, so I find the battery life isn't as good as what I had with the Sony. This joystick right here is kind of awkward, at least for me. There's your record, stop, start, but to move my thumb over and actually use that little bitty joystick, I find it very awkward, and the menu button is down there, so I find it really awkward to use. Another con is here is your charging port, and you would think it could just use a USB-C, but it only can use its OEM charger because it's a certain kind of a weird voltage. It's not a normal USB voltage. I think it's like 7 or 9 volts or something, so you have to use their charger to charge that battery, or you can pull the battery out and put it on a aftermarket type charger, or an accessory, but that's kind of a pain. My Sonys, I could always just plug them into a normal USB outlet and charge up the camera. There's also no computer connection for file transfer, so if you want to get your images off here, you have to actually physically pull the card out and then stick it into a card reader on your computer. Whereas my previous Sony, I could just plug in a USB and transfer them over. So that's a little bit of an extra step. It can be used as a webcam, and it works pretty good. That you can just plug it into over here, I think it's this USB, you plug it in and it can be used as a webcam. But funny thing is, it doesn't send any audio out, so you got to get a separate microphone and everything. It'd be nice just to be able to use the mic in the camera. You also can't take a photo while the video is being recorded, which was a nice feature of a previous camcorder I had. So I could be videoing and I could just press a photo button and it would take a photo of whatever I'm shooting. This one you actually have to stop the video recording and then take the photo. It also has very limited high frame rate options. Previously I had a camcorder that could do, I think it was 120 frames a second, so you could switch to that mode and record in that mode, and then it helped you do slow motion video in post-processing. And this one tries to do slow motion and fast motion, but it seems very limited. as well. It just doesn't have a lot of high frame rate going on. And finally, this viewfinder right here is your focus on the viewfinder. There's a little slider there, and I find that's I'm constantly getting that moved off. I think when I lift it up, it's kind of underneath. I end up always having to readjust that, so it's kind of an awkward control. Yeah, there you go. Now you know what I've been using for my videos the last year or so, especially my boating videos. So if you want to see how it performs, just go and watch all the videos I've done pretty well winter and this summer. So I did some down south in the desert, any of the kind of travel log type videos, and then all my boating videos, my travel boating videos were done with this camcorder. Till next time, Ray from Love Your RV and Boat. Cheers, guys.